This is a Podful of Saints on Tuesday, the 23rd of April 2024. There we are, very precise start. As we look back on the Saints' final game of the season, a 2-2 draw with Tonbridge Angels down at the Longmead Stadium. I was there, David Tavener, Jake Ellacott was there. Evening, Jake.
Hello, Dave. Hello, Lee. Hello, everyone. Hope you're all well.
And Lee was at home peeling the potatoes or something. Evening, Lee.
What? Good evening, David. Yes, good evening.
Right, okay. Saturday then, 2-2 draw down at Tonbridge Angels. Following on from a 1-0 win in midweek, 4 points from the last two games. A successful season, obviously. As an end-of-season game, it wasn't that bad, was it, Jake? Quite entertaining parts. There were bits in the first half where it seemed a bit quiet and the ball was down the other end a bit too much for our liking. But I thought we created a good number of chances, and that wasn't a bad way to sign off.
It was an all right game, actually. I thought it would be, and it proved to be that. As I said, decent chances. Again, a bit of defending that maybe wasn't ideal, but it wasn't a bad display at all. I think most fans were enjoying the game, but maybe not all their focus was on the game, it's fair to say. I think most were enjoying the last bits of the season off the pitch with the pints and the many pies that were consumed at Tonbridge on Saturday. But yeah, it was a decent little display. And I thought, again, in parts, maybe not for the whole game, in parts, we again showed that bit more positivity than we'd seen up until the sort of last week or so.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. There's one change from the win over Hampton, with Karen Wiltshire coming in for Ryan Blackman. And you've got the exclusive hot news on that, Jake, I believe.
Well, we say exclusive hot news. I think this is going to be the biggest disappointment ever. But basically, the decision was not to play him because he was one card away from, if he'd picked it up on Saturday, he'd have been suspended for the start of next season. I think that's right, isn't it, Dave? You've done the maths.
Yeah, he's actually already got 16 bookings this season, so we thought he was going to be suspended anyway. But two of them are in the FA Cup, and the way it works nowadays, bookings in the FA Cup only apply to the FA Cup. Bookings in National League South only apply to National League South. So with 14 bookings, he was safe to play on Saturday, and it's ridiculous. You're not going to play players because you want to protect them for the start of next season. I'm sorry, that's a ridiculous way to go about it. You pick your strongest side, but you think is your strongest side do that job. Anyway, does that mean we're looking to keep Ryan Blackman next season? Do you think? So we're going to look at the squad later.
I was going to say so. That sort of suggests he might be around. Also, I think we can have it. I think we were 4 minutes in today's first moan of the episode, so I think this bodes well for the rest of it.
But the thing is, you've not picked up on fact 16 yellow cards. You know, that's the bit you should be focusing on, boys. I mean, that fella's got commitment through his veins. God bless him.
Is that what it is?
That and a few bad tackles here and there, and a horrendous temper. But apart from that, golden.
Thank you. Yes. I suppose the most pleasing thing for us, Jake, was the quality of our two goals. They were superb, weren't they? I put them on slow motion at the start and the end of this podcast, just so people enjoy. But there were build-ups before that, and it's good to see us getting those sort of goals, because I'm going to come on to goals we conceded in a minute.
Yeah, I think the first one for Dom, a really good finish on his left foot, and it's good to see him do that. I think we talked about this season, didn't we, that we've not had enough goals from the rest of the team behind Sean Jeffers, and it's good to see him do that. Of course, you know, he's returning now after his loan to Wealdstone, although interestingly, there was a little chant of sign him up, and he did turn around and applaud the fans when that came after the goal. So you wonder if he might be one that Meeks might try and bring in next season. And the second one, Jake Berger, I don't think has hit the heights that we expected with us this season, has he? I think he's had one or two bright moments, Maidstone away. But that his build-up play for that second goal was absolutely superb. He left the defender on toast, and then Sean does as Sean does. He's a 30-odd goal, 25 goal to 30 goal a season striker. That's why he does. It was a brilliant finish, superb. And those two combined for a brilliant goal. And it was nice for Sean, I think, to sign off the season after a couple of tough few weeks where he's struggled in front of goal. I thought it was good for him to get a goal to round off the season.
Ryan's 26 bookings, by the way, quickly looked it up, equals the club record of 16. Did I say, how many bookings did I say? 16. That equals a record set by Karen Wiltshire 2 years ago. Right, I agree with you about Berger. I thought that was his most positive. He's only on for half an hour. That was his most positive performance we've seen for a long time. And he showed what he can do there. and we just haven't seen enough of it recently, which is a shame. John Meeks said about the goals we conceded from crosses again. We've seen it several times, and we heard it several times in his interviews. I thought it was a rerun of an old interview. But what our manager and coaches and scouts have forgotten, he should be learning, crosses create chances. They get goals. And if you've got a player like Sean Shields, who is top quality, he played, 100-odd games for us at the start of his career. And some of the crosses he put in Saturday, and he put the corner in for the first goal. That is a quality we've not had from the flanks this season. It's an area you'd like to see us address next year, isn't it?
Yeah, we've not really had it at all, have we? I think the last sort of talk of set pieces specifically, probably we're looking at Johnny Goddard, aren't we? When some of the deliveries he managed to put in, 2 years ago now. But otherwise, again, we've talked about actually in recent weeks, haven't we? About the poor sort of balls into the box generally. And unfortunately, they undid us on Saturday. And we talk about, the easiness of teams scoring against us with headers recently. And it has been really noticeable. And I think it's on the coaching team, but also it's on the defence. Someone like Joe Partington, who is meant to be a leader out there. Why aren't they able to organise this defence? I don't know why. But it has been a real issue, particularly in sort of feels like the last 2 months.
Yeah. Mind you, probably go back to interviews with Nobby, Ian Anderson. They'll all say, we haven't defended crosses. No, it's because they're blooming difficult to defend. To get somebody good to stick them in there, and we might get a few more goals. Mind you, as we said, Saturday, 2 goals we created, nicely worked along the deck, good goals. So you can do a nice mix and get goals. You mentioned defensively there, Jake. I did not like that tip-tapping around at the back. We caused ourselves so many problems. Poor old Michael Johnson. We said it before. He's got hands. He's a goalkeeper. Don't expect him to play like Pele on the ground. We created problems for ourselves. We needn't have done it. We could have got it forward earlier and put them under a bit more pressure. Did you get a bit concerned when we did look a bit stretched doing that at times?
We did a little bit. Lee, I wonder if you're getting a sense of deja vu right now with the old passing around the back.
It's like the pod from about like 8 months ago and 9 months ago and 2 years ago. Yeah.
I think that's fair. I think we also have to mention for the second goal, I think MJ, maybe wasn't his finest moment either, was it, for that second goal? I think to me, it looked like he got both hands on it, didn't it? And maybe he should be saving that, unfortunately. Oh, Dave's checking his calendar. Oh no, what's he got there? Oh my God.
Lamb's given up the ghost. Floodlights, right? It's like being down the park, isn't it? Another floodlight bulb gone.
Oh my God. Well, because that lamp's from 1955, probably.
And
it's a gas lamp, 1930s.
Other good performances. Unfortunately for Gio Rasulu, went off after 5 minutes, got clobbered in 2, and he missed the rest of the game. On comes Zane Banton, and again, I thought quite a positive performance, Joke.
Yeah, he's decent, that Zane Banton, isn't it? It's a shame he's sort of struggled to get into the side in recent weeks. And I thought for Zane on Saturday, I thought he looked a bit better because he was a bit more central at times. He wasn't totally stuck out on the wide coat the whole game. He's able to influence a bit more. Same with Jake Berger, actually. Both of them able to influence a little bit more. And of course, shame for Rasulo, but I think a lot of fans were quite happy to see Zane Banton come on the pitch for the last game of the season. And I thought he did himself a decent little display there.
While we're in this happy, slappy mood, let's stick Callum Tripp on it as well. His second full game in a row. And again, he did well, didn't he? When he comes forward, he's got 6'4", he's only 17. And he does get forward well. He goes past people and then he passes at the end of it. So they might have got a good one there. Whether we've got him for next season or not, we don't know, because obviously he's on loan from MK Dons.
Yes,
Impressed?
and you just wonder if we might see him next season. I think that's the logical explanation, isn't it? Him coming into these last 2 games, is surely that's setting up for some sort of loan next season. He seems to be highly rated at MK Dons. Sorry to anyone for having to repeat that name. I know they're not got the biggest fans in football. So hopefully, and he's looked decent. He looks like he could fit into a defence. But we've got to see him in a few more games. And again, it comes back to, would it be nice to see him given a chance a bit earlier in the league, potentially? Could he have resolved some of the potential defensive issues we've had? Maybe, but hopefully we might see him return next season. He looks like he looked fairly comfortable alongside Joe Parsons, I thought, actually.
Yeah, he played him 2 goals conceded to relegated Boreham Wood Town, 2 goals conceded Saturday. No, actually, not his fault. Not his fault at all. He did look good. Right. Anything else you want to add about plastic pitch at Tonbridge?
I thought overall, I thought it was a good day. I thought it was nice to see the scenes between the players and the fans at the end there. It's been not been the greatest scene. It's been quite tumultuous at times, but it's positive scenes. Good to see you, Dave, hanging out with managers that haven't got clubs at the minute, but do have a lot of money behind them. I'm not going to name names, but that was quite an interesting little sight. Let the rumour mill run wild. But yeah, I thought it was an enjoyable afternoon for Saints fans. I think it was good to end the season. Wasn't on a win, but it was on a positive note. And hopefully, it's not been an amazing season, but we only missed out on the playoffs by 7 points. It's it is what it is. But yeah, it was a good afternoon all round, I thought.
It's no secret, Jake. I spent the whole of half time talking to Steve King, who's got was
Whoa.
it 7 clubs or 9 clubs into end of season playoffs. It's a phenomenal record. Whatever people think of him, he's got his detractors. Of course, he has. He went through a situation that haven't. Why he thinks it went wrong there didn't work out for him, and continued to go wrong for the club. He was surprised as anybody. Bobby Wilkinson getting the job at Hemel Hempstead. Everybody thought that was going somewhere else. That's where the strong rumours, seem to be going. And we touched on quite a few other subjects. Yeah, it's a fascinating quarter of an hour and quite enjoyable. Probably not for him, but there you go. Exactly. Right. I don't know where you caught up with the game, Lee, on Saturday. So bits you've heard about it and seen. What do you make of it?
It seemed as though we played well, and the one thing that did concern me a little bit was the quality of our defending at times. It was a little bit comical, but again, I'm only going to go with what I've seen on the highlights. So, it's one thing I would say, touching upon what Jake said a bit earlier on about Sean Shields. He's still got something there. I mean, I remember watching him when I was a bit younger, and his quality on the ball. And for someone so slight in frame, he doesn't get knocked off the ball particularly easy, and he's quite strong. He's quite deceptively strong. So possible target for next year, who knows?
Yeah, I think we should have gone for him this season. I think he would have done us a world of good. You say about he's strong on the ball, Lee, but not only that, he's got such a quick mind. He knows what he wants to do with the ball, and he will play it short. He can put a great cross in, and yes, good player. Did well for us. Right, that is Tonbridge done and dusted, I guess. And that is 2023-24 done and dusted. Right, so we look back on the end of the season then. 11th, we thought at one stage we were going to get one of these medals, didn't we? Runners up.
He's got it out again.
South, 2006, but it didn't quite happen. 11th, our lowest place apart from the COVID season for 8 years or so. Yeah, a few weeks ago, it promised so much more. Well, I know we talked about it last week. Do you want to run through the squad?
Where did you pinch that medal from? Who have you lifted that from, Tavener?
It's a case of running onto a pitch, grabbing a player's shirt and walking up to the presentation thing, Lee, and just taking one and running off again. I don't know how I got it, actually, but rather nice.
So,
oh my god,
squad.
Right, it looks like we're keeping Ryan Blackman. Who else would you look to keep?
Oh, that is a big question. I think in recent weeks, I think there's been a lot of questions, haven't there, from fans especially, already planning for next season. And when you think of the team compared to last, I think it's the wide areas, isn't it, for me, that we have really like this campaign. In terms of keeping, I mean, I'd probably keep that central spine of sort of Joe Partington, Blackman, Sean Jeffers, Zane Banton, Rasulo, and a few others. Wiltshire, maybe. Ben Smith, maybe. But then do we probably need a bit of improvement in midfield? Probably. But aside from those sort of players, there's a lot of players in the squad that I think have had a lot to play for in recent weeks and maybe quite haven't stepped up. I don't know what you think, Lee.
I would contradict that. I would look at the actual spine of the side. I think we've got an excellent keeper. We definitely need another centre-back Clarkey, as much as we all love Clarkey, we can't have someone in that position only turning up for a third of the season. You know, by his own admissions, he's been desperately unlucky with injuries, and when he has played, he's never let us down, and he's formed at times an invaluable partnership with Parts. So I think we need strength there. Bowery hasn't put his case forward enough, in my opinion. When it goes to show that when you put Ben Smith there and Ryan Blackman's played there as well, they've looked, good. But imagine how strong we could have been if we'd had someone a bit more commanding, maybe with a little bit of pace as well at the back. I think that's where we need to strengthen. I think in the middle of the park as well, Ryan Blackman's going to need a foil. I think Ben Smith is probably one of the unsung heroes, in so much that I don't think he expected to play this much this season, if I'm honest. And he's been sort of thrust into it. Obviously, George Hoddle, that quality is missing for us. Ryan Blackman can only sort of do so much. He needs a partner in crime in that middle of the park. I think Kieran Wiltshire should be given another stab at it. I think Akinola deserves to be in the fringes of the squad, there or thereabouts. But I think we need consistency. We need a consistent partner in the centre back. We need a consistent partner for Ryan Blackman in the middle of the park. And we need a supporting cast for Sean. That's if, big question, Sean stays. Because don't forget, his contract is seemingly up. And there's absolutely not a cat's chance in hell that he gets offered the same deal this time around. So the thing is, whilst I would be absolutely delighted that he starts next season, it wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't, because don't forget that the club tried to offload him on more than one occasion. He was talking to clubs himself, don't forget. So either he takes an absolutely, earth-shattering pay drop to stay at the Saints, which I don't think he's, against. He's got a young family now. I think his priorities in life have changed. He likes to be that big fish in a small pond. He likes to be the main man, and that's absolutely fine. But the thing is, he's played this absolutely spot on, because his deliverables are there for all to see as well. Yes, okay, he commands the big bucks, but you get in the return on that. I just wish that we have the supporting cast around him. Gio Rasulu hasn't done it anywhere near enough for me. He needs to be scoring more goals. Zane, we're going to let him off, obviously, because he's only played half of the year. So, but we know he can score goals. We just need more people chipping in. And I think it is, you can see, can't you, when Sean doesn't score, it's a little bit of a struggle for us. And I think the spine of the team is where we should be looking. I'm all for you, Tabs, as well, touching on the quality of the crossing. That has been missing, sorely in our armoury. But ultimately, we need to hold the ball and we need to attack with pace and force. And I think a dynamic box-to-box midfielder could be the way for that, because he creates space and then you can have runners off of that, mate, really.
It's funny, on Saturday, Sean satisfied both his detractors and his fans, because for a lot of the game, I mean, you probably thought the same, Jake, he was invisible. But in the end, he was there for what you want your striker to do, which is put the ball in the back of the net. You get the rabbits running around, you get the cream at the top of the team there, who sticks the ball away when the chances come. And he scored in our last 8 away league games. It's a phenomenal run. He's got 90 National League South goals. Next highest is Lee Clark with 71. That's National League as well, not just South. And then after that, you go down to 42 goals. We've not had proven goal scorers, if you like, regular goal scorers all the way through in the way that we've had Short. So to see him go, well, if it happens, not saying it will happen, it will be a blow, and it's going to be difficult to replace. And I hope they don't look for a striker if they or even just play alongside him, someone who can just run around and satisfy the analysts. It's a waste of space and those things in football. We don't need them. Rather than a goal scorer. Goal scorers win your games. And Sean proved the point Saturday when he drew us a game.
I mean, you talk about Sean maybe disappearing for a lot of the game on Saturday or being quiet. There's a lot of players on that pitch that are on the ball a lot, but they don't score goals, do they? During games, unfortunately, in this team at the minute. And I'd just love to have a player like Sean just He could be as quiet as he wants. If he's going to pop up with a 90th minute winner or whatever it is, I couldn't care less. 90 goals in the National League South is absolutely tremendous.
What's about Ben Smith you mentioned there, Lee? I'm not his biggest fan, make no bones about that, because I think he's got to come on more. He's got to be more attack-minded. He's got to do more forward passing. You can say he tidies things up, he passes, but it's always backwards. Sometimes it's sideways. He's got the abilities. We saw it in his debut at Hampton when he was playing at right back, and he was getting forward. He's putting balls forward, and I'd just like to see him now develop that side of his game more. And I think you will have a very, very good player indeed, then.
Absolutely spot on, and I think you've hit it on the head there, Taff. He's got all the ability in the world, and he's got youth on his side, which is absolutely fantastic for us. Maybe if he's given a bit more, if he's given a bigger role, perhaps, but you don't want to overburden him. He's still quite young, and don't forget, pace is fast at this level. You don't want to sort of sit there and absolutely ruin him in his second year, because I think that's just going to be no good to anybody. One thing that you two have avoided very, very skillfully is that we're touching on the Jeffers thing, because that is going to be the talk of the town all of the off season. Could you see him staying, knowing what's been said about him, knowing how he's been treated, knowing how he's reacted to it, knowing it's possibly down to his role within the team? Is it his role within the financial, stability of the club? Do you think Sean Jeffers is still going to be there at the start of next season?
Well, 9 days ago, he turned 32. He's not a spring chicken, but he's still knocking in the goals. He's still fit. All that nonsense in the first half of the season, it was allegedly because he didn't run around enough. It was also the possibility that if he played a certain number of games, it triggered the club having to offer him a new contract. Well, he's obviously achieved that, because what did he do? He played 49 games in total and didn't start all of those. So they got to offer him a contract. You're right, do they have to offer him more? Maybe not, don't have to. But no one in a higher league's going to take him at that age. You can bet your bottom dollar that. It won't be going National League, so it's whether anybody at our level, we're offering him the same as what he's on here. It's got to be unlikely for a 32-year-old. So I would think there's a reasonable chance we will still have him next season.
Interesting. I think there's a decent chance. I would not be shocked if he gets some good offers at this level, potentially from clubs that have come down, or some of the big spending clubs that we know are coming up as well to this division. So I wouldn't be shocked if he gets a good offer, but I think there's a reasonable chance he stays. And if he doesn't, we're all going to be blamed because we've cursed it.
It's funny. One of the reasons he got his increased contract was because he talked to Hemel Hempstead a couple of years ago, and they made him a good deal. We come back and we topped it. And now they've got a new manager. Bobby Wilkinson's gone there from Weymouth. Surprise appointment at the end of last week. They almost got relegated. He could be the sort of player they'd look at to make themselves a bit of a force. Just a thought.
No, don't panic. Don't panic, our viewers, Dave. Come on.
Right, looking through that squad, India can be. I'd like to keep him, but as a squad member, which is no good to him, because I think he'd be good coming off the bench. Obviously, Zane, Ryan Blackman. I don't think he was consistent enough this season. He can do better than that, I'm sure. 2 fullbacks, Brown and James. They're steady. Not the worst in the world by a long way. Clarkey, now he was poorly advised and he'd come back too early. And now he's got advice from outside the club and he's got 12 weeks of rehabilitation. The match packs keep saying he's doubtful for games. Yes, he is doubtful. He can hardly walk. Others, running through that. Hamid, I don't see us retaining him, but I'd like to see him given a decent run somewhere. We said Jeffers, Johnson, definitely keep him. McDonald, he's getting good reviews with Welling or wherever it is. Maybe it's time for him to step back up. He's been going down since, was it QPR he joined us from. Others, Partington, yes, I'll go along you, keeping him. Sulu, I think like Ryan, I think he can offer us a lot more, as you suggested, Lee. Smith, I touched on. Beyond that, Mitch, yes. And a fully fit Kyron Wiltshire would be good, as would a fully fit Ben Wyatt.
Yes, Ben Wyatt's sort of the forgotten man of this season, isn't he? In terms of a fullback, I think he was the big signing of last summer, wasn't he? And unfortunately, with injuries, just not quite worked, has it? So maybe he could be the solution to maybe some of the width issues we've had, and maybe not poor deliveries, poor play, etc. I think if you do compare our fullbacks this season to last season, I think there's been a drop off. I think Jack James is decent enough, and I think he could take another step, but Ben White could be. Two other things. I think Michael Johnson, brilliant keeper, but should we be relying on a keeper that is? Well, it feels like he's going to miss 10 games a season, doesn't it, with injury at the minute? That's not his fault at all. But do you want that? I don't know. I think we saw last season that unfortunately we dropped points because of that situation, didn't we, with McNamara, who struggled. So that's a question. And also for me is midfield, central midfield. We talked about Hoddle. I think fan of the podcast, Nigel Culkin, sent me a list of compared between the games that Hoddle played and he didn't. And it's quite impressive, actually. Yes. He's been very busy lately. And the record without Hoddle is it's not great. But, for me, we've talked about, we need someone like Hoddle, but we also need someone like Hoddle that can score goals. We need a goal-scoring midfielder. Look at Chelmsford. They had someone like that. They brought Charlie Ruff back this season. I think he scored 17 goals from midfield. Absolutely tremendous. They're hard to come by, but if we can pick someone like that up potentially, that could be the key, I think, next season to maybe getting us over the line. So I think a goal-scoring midfielder in the shape of Hoddle, hopefully more of a permanent move maybe for someone like that, could be a real key, because we don't really have. When was the last time we had a central midfielder that actually scored a decent amount of goals? It has been a long old time.
Yeah,
George Hoddle, getting up on Nigel's stats there, which he didn't send to me. I feel slighted terribly here. I was looking at it earlier, just looking at our points gained while he was in the team, minutes he was in the team, not when he went off after 80 or came on after 80 with score. Either side of that don't count. And it was something like almost 1.7 points a game with him in it, and he's under 1.5 with him not in it. So yeah, I mean, you two keep singing his praises every week, and the stats back it up completely. I expect Nigel's do as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do think that is going to be a real reliance on us to sort of dip into that market as well, Tabs. And there are pros and cons to it that you've sort of highlighted many a time. But I think you've got to look at, we've had more pros than cons. The players that we have, you've only got to look at Tripp now. If there is a situation where we have him back, he's got a real sort of deceptive turn of pace. He's got a really good engine. He's young. He's going to have a good future. So if we can maybe have another season of him, that could be beneficial, because I think he's the sort of player that can play which he wasn't particularly keen on. But if you look at how many players have played out of position this season, it's been horrendous, and they even need to get the players to fit a system, or just get better players, because I think you've seen our shortcomings over the last month or so, where defensively as a unit, we're not working hard enough. I'm sure the players, I'm not sure I know the players are good players. They're good players. Some of them in our squad are really good players. But as a collective, I think Neeks is going to need that summer to really bed them in and really sort of instill that confidence that we can work as a unit. Because ultimately, what they've been offering to what they've been promising are two different things.
The telling word you said about Tripp there, Lee, was if we keep him, because obviously he's a lone player. At the end of Saturday's game, we lost 4 players straight away, the lone players. Just like we did at the end of last season, we lost, I think it's 5 just like that. So again, it's rebuilding. You can't. We don't know if we're going to have those players back or not. It's unlikely, I guess, because they're under contract to those clubs. So rebuilding will have had to have started already. I've had a text I've been sitting on for a couple of weeks. I don't think it's relevant till the end of the season.
Hold tight.
It's similar to one you two had last week as well. It says, do we apportion blame to anybody for us not getting in the playoffs, considering where we were? Like David Noble walking out when we did, and David Noble not playing Sean Jeffers for so long, which probably cost us points. John Meeks, for the way it has dropped off in his last 8 games, when he picked up just 5 points, of course. or the players themselves?
I don't think there's one solid reason. Don't forget, we've been decimated by injuries as well, which hasn't helped our cause. I would say, and I've gone, on record saying this, I think the treatment of Sean Jeffers early on in the season was absolutely diabolical. And I think the club, whoever's decision that was, needed to have a damn good hard look at themselves. Because that was a contributing factor. Because then from that minute on, you're always playing catch-up. You're always playing catch-up. Injuries weren't great. I think recruitment from the start, you've got to look at the season as well, Taz. Nobby is well respected within non-league circles and he's respected within pro circles as well. But did we recruit well? Debatable. Do we have the system to fit the players? Debatable. The way he acted, the Sean thing, we've had injuries. Is the budget where we need to be in collaboration to the people we're getting through the gates? But then again, all these things, and there's a word again, if the club spend more money, if the club was to sign this sort of player, if the club, it swings and roundabouts, mate. And ultimately, the club, quite rightly, aren't going to, bankrupt themselves because of the promise of promotion. But I think what is disappointing is that the back. There we are.
We lost Jake for a while there. Jake?
Was I boring you, mate?
No, blame my girlfriend's internet.
She's bored with you. Yes. You cut Lee off in his prime. Somebody cut Lee off in his prime there.
No, that's. But it's. I don't think there's one.
Right. The recruiting then. The recruiting, is it solely down to the manager now, or is it a director of football? Allegedly, we don't have one any longer. How is the recruiting done? Any ideas?
There's a couple of fellas on LinkedIn who claim to be sort of analysts and a recruitment, consultants for the club, scouting network, etc. So it's not solely down to the manager, but it's I guess more eyes and ears are good, because there's no way that one person, either Mixie or Nobby, can get out to so many games and speak to so many people that he's going to get the players that he wants. One thing I would say is that, without wanting to sound horrendously arrogant, there will always be good players who want to play for this football club. Always. There always have been. However, it's just a matter of whether we can afford them.
Because the manager, to me, it should all be down to the manager. The manager is easily contactable by agents now, and that's how it's done, I would guess, rather than through players. It's agents getting in touch with clubs saying, I've got so many players at these clubs, I think they could do you a job. And then the managers shift through them, and they got their own contacts as well. I know I mentioned Steve King earlier, but here's a manager who goes out there to game after game after game. When we chatted to him the other year, Jake, we got the same response, and he's still doing it. Maybe it's old-fashioned manager, old style. But look at his record; it stands up quite well. He's ignore haven't. And a lot of them, of course, they sent clips of players. Go, cool, he looks magic. Well, of course, we all look good if we do something good a couple of times in our career. But you can't beat getting out there and knowing the players properly, surely.
I do agree. And I think it's going to be a big test for Meeks and Wheeler this summer, isn't it? Whether they've got the contacts, whether they've got the ability to spot those players. This is their first time working together. It's Meeks's, probably he had a spell at Chesham, didn't he? But this is going to be a big test. His first time trying to build or put together a squad or add to a squad at this level. So he's going to need that additional help of a scouting team. But it is going to be a big test. And as you say, I think most of us would sort of support a manager going out and watching games. But you've now reached the point of the season where there are no barely games left, apart from a couple South playoffs and North playoffs, and a couple of the Southern League have a few games left or one game left. So they are going to be relying on clips to an extent, but they're going to be relying on the connections that they've built up already. And this is going to be a really big test for both of them. We have to remember Harry Wheeler's not really been involved at this level of football for a good 5, 6, 7 years, has he? Same for Meeks. I know he's been involved with Nobby, but again, first season at this level for him as a manager, it's going to be a really big test.
Yeah, their records at this level don't stack up, unfortunately, at the moment. So you hope they have built up some contacts along the way to get the players they want to get us a decent season.
Yeah, and I'm sure they have. And of course, now, Dave, your old favourite thing, every player's got an agent as well. There's going to be a lot of agents out there offering their players around, a lot of players looking for moves, etc. But you do wonder, again, like Lee sort of hinted at earlier, I wonder if you might see a bit more movement in the loan market, maybe try and get a sort of full season loans potentially over the next few months. Could be interesting.
Right. I've got some loose ends to tie up if you're finished with that.
Okay.
I had a quick word with Mitchell Weiss before the game Saturday. You know about this, Jake. He's confirmed he didn't touch the ball for our first goal at Slough. So the club's got to change that record. It's the Ryan Blackman goal. And he also didn't touch the one for the own goal in the Herts Senior Cup final. So that's the Ross Alton superbly taken own goal that was. You got those. And down at Weymouth, Sean Jeffers didn't touch that first ball. It was an own goal by somebody whose name is escaped. Oh, no, Corey Panther. It might have been his debut for Weymouth. So, let's clear those up. Everybody get the Tipex out, change your records. Up to date.
Thank you for that, Dave.
And also, did you notice? Apparently, it happened quite some time ago. I didn't notice because I look at the website for news, which is a stupid thing to do, isn't it? Since in the last 5 years, we have a new commercial and operations manager, Jessica Austin, wife of Dean Austin. Any idea what a commercial and operations manager is, either of you?
We go on the pod, mate, and then we can ask her ourselves.
Yeah. More than welcome to join us.
Keep it in the family.
Yes. Because their son, of course, that's Dean Austin and Jessica's son, Max, is doing a lot of interviews at the moment, post-match interviews. And their other son, Aaron, played a few games for us. Right. Well, that's all I've got on that. You got anything to add?
You haven't got a stat, Tavs? You must have a stat in there somewhere, buddy. Come on.
Well, that was our 5,070th game on Saturday. It was our 1,166 2-2 draw. Well, look, our first game with Lisa Ben as referee. Attendance 1,431. I think it's the biggest attendance we've had away to Tonbridge, and the admission was £16. Good Lord. Right, there you go.
See, I asked for one stat. He gives me 5. What a man. What a man.
Are we all looking forward to a second Hertfordshire derby next season, by the way? That something happened before our game on Saturday, didn't it?
What was that, Jacob? Tell us, my friend.
I believe...
Well, last week, Jake, you put a kiss of death on it. You wished all our fellow Hertfordshire clubs good luck on the final weekend of the season. It didn't go quite well for all of them, did it, Jake?
Unfortunately, no. Live on national TV, Boreham Wood did suffer relegation to
on
Ebbsfleet. On the telly. I wonder what that's
on
like.
The telly.
Oh dear. So yes, we'll be playing Boreham Wood next season. And I suppose it brings up the question of, will we be having them over the festive fixtures, which was something being debated on Saturday? And I fear that we may well do. While Hemel will probably get Chesham, won't they?
Well, it's good to have Chesham as well, isn't it? Chesham United,
Yes,
Calamatabay and that lot there.
Yeah.
That'd be good to have them back down the park. So it gives us, 6 fairly-ish local derbies as opposed to just 2, which we almost keep winning regularly now, don't we? Let them have one down the park this year, but we normally win.
Well, yeah, and I suspect the Boreham Wood owner is already looking forward to the fixtures against us. Hopefully he doesn't write any sort of 10-page long programmes that, Dave, you get mentioned in this time.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. And I suppose nothing as well is Dylan Berry, ex of this parish, is now in the playoffs again via Chelmsford City. So I would say good luck, Dylan, but I don't know if I mean that, to be honest.
Well, come on then. Looking at the playoffs, who do you fancy for it?
Ooh.
Are we not in it?
Based pot. Don't know. I think there's two teams for me. I think either Maidstone because of their FA Cup run this season. They've got the experience of those sort of big knockout games now this season, and they finished the season actually really well. After we beat them, they went on a decent run. Or, and Lee will hate this, Braintree. I know they've not finished the season amazingly, but the way they played against us, they looked like the perfect team that could easily win 2-3 knockout games just by, to be honest, just being absolute S-houses, I thought.
Jake, listen, mate, you've got it all wrong, me old fruit. I want them out of this league. I want them out of this league. Send them up to the conference. I don't give a monkeys. Yes, I've got phone call upon phone call upon phone call. Get them out. Because I tell you what, if Tavs and I have to endure another trip down to Cressing Road, mate, in the Podmobile, then it's, we don't want it, do we, mate?
Well, not forget stuck on the M25 like we did this year. But the worst thing of that was, Lee, in the end, we did actually get round and saw the old damn game, didn't we? Which we hadn't.
Yeah. That wasn't great. That wasn't great.
To me, Braintree were side to beat. Chelmsford finished 3 points above them. Braintree are just so awkward to beat at the moment. And they're on this fantastic run. They're going into it in top form. They do bore the pants off a lot of teams, but they are difficult to beat. Chelmsford, I cannot believe, finished second in the table. We saw them twice, unimpressed both times. They looked better last season, if anything. Maidstone, we did very well against them. 6 points for them, 6 points Chelmsford, of course. Worthing, you don't know what you're going to get on the day. They're going to give you chances, but they're going to score goals. Not the ideal thing for a playoff, but could be great fun. Almost like we were 2005-06, really. High scoring, high conceding, but great fun. Bath and Aveley, very surprised if either of those make up the ground on those top teams. So, unfortunately, I'm edging towards Braintree as well. I prefer to see him go out the trapdoor down the other end of the division, but hey ho, they go.
Those knockout games are this week, aren't they? So we'll soon find out semi-final lineup, and then I think the finals next weekend, the first weekend of May, isn't it? So, wow, how exciting! Shame we're not there this time.
Although to be fair, if the National League are in charge of organising all of the playoffs, then God knows who's going to be playing one another, because they've made a bit of a mess of it, haven't they? Like the last few days.
They have indeed.
Well, they use the template of the FA. Look, we've got this successful competition. How can we screw it up?
You've seen who's who. Yeah, but who's on the board, mate, of the National League? Seriously,
you're not on it,
Dave's. Not yet.
Not yet, mate. Give it time.
So Dave's taken the FA Cup replay news as well. I see.
Wow. Yeah. I think what we should do is refuse to get into the competition proper, like we do most seasons, and we won't have that problem with replays.
Oh, for God's sake.
Right. Okay.
Right. We looked at promotion. Any tears shed? Dover Athletic, Havant, Waterlooville, Taunton Town, and Dartford. Any tears shed for that lot?
No.
Tears of... Well, in terms of Havant and Dartford, tears of laughter. I think, Havant, their fans, when we went down there, I think it was one of the first away games of the season. They were talking about challenging Yeovil and storming away with it. And to be fair, looking at the team sheet, they were probably right to at least be in that conversation. Dartford's just hilarious, absolutely hilarious. I mean, it was just their fans. They deserve this. If I'm honest, it's just absolutely horrendous. But it does go to show you one thing, though, Tams. I touched on it last week. Throwing money at it isn't always the way. You do need, and I think what we've said, although we've sort of tried to sort of pick the pieces apart of our season to date, one thing I would say, our core is fundamentally solid. We've got a good fan base. We've got astute owners who are prepared, to put the money in. We've got good sort of commercial surroundings and good players. So the nucleus is there. I think it needs developing across the board, but on the whole, it's there. You got to look at Dartford. They're putting money in, and they were playing in front of sort of 600-700, and it just wasn't sustainable. And to be fair, as soon as you start losing game upon game upon game, those crowds soon drop off. So I think, although we've looked at it in depth today, our season, and we've sort of tore it apart a little bit, I do think we need to appreciate that there's a good foundation there for us to build upon. But now it's up to the players and the board to start really sort of kicking us on.
You talk about money, spending money to hopefully get promoted, and it doesn't always work. But Kingy touched on that with the Havant situation. Players were on long contracts, too comfortable for them, if you like, and didn't work. And of course, one manager, St Albans City manager, who did it, got promotion without spending big. His first spell as manager of St Albans City was John Mitchell, 83-84, brought in a whole load of local players. Incredible. We'll go through it next week because Mitch is on the podcast next week. And talking to Mitch, he played for Colton youth team in St Albans in the late 60s. Effectively, it was St Albans City youth team of the day, but they provided more players for the first team down the years who had longer careers. And that's not knocking St Albans City youth, just a statement of fact. One of them, sadly, the club didn't mention on its website the other week or in Twitter who died. Joe Kinnear played for Colton youth, played 2 games for St Albans City reserves. The club are made aware of his connections to St Albans City, and we didn't mention it, which was a big mistake. But a big profile of Joe and his time in Colton and St Albans City reserves is on the history website now, so you can catch up with it there. And it'd be great to catch up with another Colton player, as we said, next week, John Mitchell.
If you want to go read that article, I think if you pop into Google St Albans City statistics, the history website will be the first hit and it'll come up. So on that note, by the way, are we all agreed that Joe Partington is the Saints Podful of Saints Player of the Year? I think we had agreed that a few weeks ago, hadn't we? If so, Joe, your prize is here, which are these balloons that have been floating in the background. Please come collect them. They'll be waiting for you. They're slightly deflated, so you might need to collect them soon.
Joe, if you're going to give deflated balloons to every player who watches this, you're going to need more than a couple.
Really? No.
Yes. Yes.
What's this, tripe today?
Yes, yeah. You'll be amazed.
We might have to hand out a few awards and stop saying what we've been saying about them.
Well, if we hand out awards, are we going to do photos? You know, because the club's not keen on that sort of thing. Award presentation photos.
Cool. You've given them both barrels today, mate, haven't you? Hey?
Let's end this before he gets us in any more trouble.
Well,
thank you.
Too late, mate.
I know we'll be back with an interview, but I think we want to say thank you for all of everyone listening and watching and putting up with us for this season. It's been absolutely tremendous, the support. I think it's surpassed everything we expected again this season. It's been absolutely brilliant. So if you do have anything you want to say, any comments at all, Podful of Saints on Twitter, Spotify, YouTube description, email, etc. below. Get your questions in for Mitch. And hopefully we will speak to you again very, very soon with that interview. And again, thank you all very much for watching. And we will speak to you all again soon. Come on, you Saints. Bye-bye.